What up, Dokkaners? With the part 2 banner now having released about a day and a half or so, a little bit more than that ago, some of you guys are probably wondering, now that we've bought all the stone sales, done all of our summons, are we going to be getting some sort of top grossing for Global Dokkan during part 2? The answer? Maybe. I can't give you a definitive answer, but we can discuss the possibilities, the analytics, and some of the estimations behind all that in today's video, which is exactly what we're going to do. So let's just jump into it. Now, looking at the part 1 distribution for Dragonstones, JPN Global got the exact same 130 Dragonstone count. And typically we can expect, similar sort of stone distributions, because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to, give a whole lot to JP and then give a minuscule amount to Global. It then just creates this illusion of bias, and that's very anti-consumer. So they try to be a little consistent with their top grossing stuff, but at the same time, when it comes to Global and top grossing, there are more regions to consider. So it sometimes gives Global the edge, if anything. Looking at JP, 130 Dragonstones for their part 1. Part 2, there was no top grossing. So this is the big interesting part here. The big wrinkle, there is no part 2 top grossing on JP, but that doesn't mean necessarily that Global will not be receiving that, because Global, again, has so many different regions. Since it is the globe, we have a much higher chance of getting top grossing for celebrations over JP, and it reflects in generally the Dragonstone count during end of major celebrations. 855 for JP for 6 year, 936 for Global on 6 year, 824 for JP during 5 year, and 879 for Global during 5 years. So generally speaking, Global ends up on top. One interesting anomaly though, for 6 year, part 1, 130 was JP's top grossing. For Global's top grossing in part 1, we got 147, but then you go down to part 2, for JP it was 30, and for Global it was 7. So other than that, it's a fairly consistent theory. But in the end, Global still received more Dragonstone, so it really doesn't matter. But the fact that they are willing to do a 7-stone top grossing reward is just embarrassing for a 6-year anniversary. I feel like that should not be done during the most prestigious anniversary in the year. I don't know, that's just me. But that being said, let's take a look at how things are shaping up on Global right now. We're going to look at the iOS store and the Android store, and what we're looking at here is the 26th of July. So now when it comes to top grossing tabulation, I'm not going to bore you guys with how the whole thing works. I'm going to link you guys to this article or this post by my boy Proton if you guys want to give it a read. It explains how top grossing works. But basically, we're going to need to give a couple of days for them to actually tabulate all of the top grossings across the planet, because there's a lot of different time zones, a lot of different regions, and every country region deserves a fair chance to perform well. Also keep in mind that since this is part 2, the cat's already out of the bag when it comes to Dokkan and the major hype. The major hype was predominantly during part 1. Part 2, we don't see the same number of returning on investment when it comes to stone sales and summons and all that stuff, because understandably so, part 1 is where the real shining happens. Part 2, So looking here on the 26th, which is the first day that the banner released, we've got some number ones, some fairly decent number of number ones here. We got France dominating the across the board. All categories in the App Store, France got number 1 for Dokkan. In games, we had number 1 in France, Belgium, Spain. So 3 countries. We had to loosen the purse strings a little bit, widen up the parameters, actually tighten the parameters a little bit more. Looking at games and actions, so a very particular type of game, we have even more number 1s. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as you get, 9, 10, 11. So when it comes to regions being top grossing, we usually get 7 stones per, right? Sometimes they'll add a little bit more just to make it a round number. But with this right here, we've got 11 regions hitting top grossing in games and action on the first day. Now that would total to 77 Dragonstones, which is a little over half of what we got for part 1, but that is a very uncharacteristic amount of stones that they would be giving us during a part 2 of a yearly anniversary. So in my opinion, what I think is probably going to happen is, instead of looking this far to the right, they're probably going to keep things a little bit more tight and restricted on the left side, and maybe just focus on this portion right here, because here we have 3 regions hitting number 1, which is kind of, a moderate amount of stones to give out, while not being too stingy and just giving us 1 region in all categories. Because originally, back in during Dokkan's heyday, all categories is where Dokkan was shining the most, which means literally every single type of app, Dokkan was number 1. But now it's been 7 years, so they have to kind of fudge with the numbers a little bit, which is why I feel like a sensible expectation for top grossing could maybe be like 21 Dragonstones. Maybe they could round it up to 30, which would kind of fall in line with how they played things out for part 2 last year for the JP celebration. Not only that, but during part 3 of this upcoming 7-year anniversary's thank you gift, we also get 30 Dragonstones. So I feel like if they were to just keep it in that ballpark of 30, that would probably appease a lot of the global audience while also not going too overboard or being too uptight about it, right? So I think if we were to just count these, that would be good. But of course, you know, they tend to take a couple of days to tabulate the totals. So it could even be more than that. Maybe they go for 5 or 6. And this is just the iOS store. Looking at the Android store, it is a whole lot more bleak. A whole lot more bleak. Because on the Android store, we got France #1 under game and action, and then not too many others. We got the United States, Luxembourg, Great Britain, Netherlands, and that's it. Oh wait, no, down here, Denmark. We got Denmark too. So yeah, but that's only on games and action. When it comes to games, when it comes to overall, oof, Dokkan is nowhere near at the top. So it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some time for them to eyeball and figure out how much they want to give us. But if I were to guesstimate, I'm going to say between 3 to 5 regions are going to hit top grossing at most, if anything, giving us around 30 stones. I think that's probably a fair shake. Another way to look at this, folks, is to look at it through this way. Looking at Luxembourg's games on the 26th, they got second top grossing. Very interesting. If we were to go to France on the 26th in the iOS store, France, obviously #1. Shout out to France. They got top grossing for Dokkan. We go to Canada. I think Canada's another one that typically does well, right? Oh God. Maybe we go to the 27th for Canada. Does that give us a #1? Actually, the 27th is still ongoing, so this is not exactly the most accurate reading. So we can't exactly use that. So we're gonna have to stick to 26th. But yeah, see, it's all over the place. So giving a definitive answer is just simply a lie. It's impossible. That's impossible. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this little breakdown of how this works. Hopefully we can earn somewhere between 20 to 30 stones. We'll have to just wait and see. And it'll probably be a couple days, maybe another day and a half before it happens, as has happened in the past. Typically, like for Cooler, the 2nd of March is when it dropped, and then the 4th is when we got the top grossing. So maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, we'll find out. Sorry, I can't give you more than that, but that's about all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below and let me know in the comments, what do you think about the top grossing conundrum on Global for part 2? Do you expect Global's going to be earning a lot for this one? Because I know a lot of you guys probably didn't even summon. So what do you honestly expect for top grossing for part 2? Do you expect a top grossing at all? Or do you expect some sort of a pseudo top grossing with some like, thank you for being so awesome, here's some stones kind of scenario? Let me know what you guys think and how many stones as a random guess in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content of the future and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know I want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned and always remember to Dokkan responsibly.